Would you like to retrofit your home with nature-based solutions? Then check this out. Today I'm going to go through the key fundamental things that each building can integrate to make it as autonomous as possible. So we're going to start with looking at how to make a conventional building to be able to heat and cool itself as much as possible. That's number one. So if you have an existing building that looks like most buildings look today, like a box with an A-framed roof, then the key thing is, well, obviously this is going to depend on the scope of your reform. Some people are going to change, everything from the plumbing system to the structure. So you have to basically analyze how big your reform is. But what you want to do is you want to identify in your building the orientation. Because if heating, for example, is important for you, then you want to make sure that the openings of your building are in the right side. So if we say that the sunny side, which in the northern hemisphere is south, if this is south facing, well, it's important that you make sure that you integrate windows, possibly as large as possible in this side to maximize your solar gain. While in the north side of your building, where you don't have any solar radiation, you actually want to close it, right? And what you want to do, if you have the possibility, if this wall structurally is strong enough, what you want to do is that you want to integrate thermal mass behind your building. Now, depending on your wall, you can go as high as it allows, or maybe you can actually add some reinforcement to your existing wall to integrate this. So basically, the way that works is thermal mass, which we talked about in one of the previous videos, is basically the ability for your home to store temperatures naturally. And so you can actually integrate that by building a small little hill on the back end of your building. And then when you open up to the south, where the sun comes, you make sure that you get that solar gain from the sun. So the sun radiates into your building and it stores the temperature inside of your house, and then it comes back during the day. Now, you also want to think of cooling your building during summer or warmer seasons. So what you can do in the same section where you integrate the thermal mass is that you can integrate an underground cooling tube. So this is a cooling tunnel. It's basically a pipe which can be 30 centimeter wide. It should be out of steel or concrete. And what you do is basically you take the outside air and it goes through the cooling tube where the air is naturally cooled down because you're already 3-4 meters under the ground. And so the air goes in there, gets cooled down, and then by the time it reaches your building, it's already nice and cool. So simply by working on integrating thermal mass and cooling tunnels in the north side, and by opening the windows in the south side, if possible, you can already maximize your heating and cooling system. So you basically consume as little as energy as possible. Now, for every climate is obviously a bit different what you can achieve. Now, that's number one that we talked about, heating and cooling. Now, water harvesting. See, every building has a roof. So today, what our roofs unfortunately do, which is really bad, is that the water, when it rains, it goes straight to the sewage system. But what you can do is you can actually collect rainwater from your roof. So you have a roof, and what you need is to have a gutter on your roof that collects the water on either end. What you want to do is that you want to direct that into a tank. So normally what we do is that we integrate a water deposit tank on the north side, and then when it rains, we harvest this water and it comes into here. Now, there are certain different processes of the filtration system, which we go through in another video. But once you have your water stored, then what we do is inside the building, we have a whole water module system that contains of various filters that we filter. It goes through the water from this tank, comes to this module, and it goes through various filters, and in the end we have clean drinkable water, and we also have sanitation water. So simply by harvesting your own water, you can reduce your water consumption significantly. Now, where you place the tank also depends. Maybe in your case you have basement, and it works better for you to place your water tanks in the basement. So you have to just analyze, depending on your site, where that would make sense for you. Now, your building obviously is also gonna create wastewater. So we talked about the water harvesting, and well, what do you do with the wastewater system? See, what we do in our buildings is that we separate gray and black water. So if you're planning to reform the whole plumbing system of your house, then this is perfect for you. Basically, what you do is that you need to have a place. Now, this can be outside, or it can be integrated into your building to treat the water. So in this case, let's take, for example, that we come and we integrate a greenhouse to your building. And this greenhouse is actually really, really good if you're in a cold climate, because this greenhouse will also act as a buffer zone between your living area and outdoor, and it will reduce your heat loss. But for treating the water, what we do is that we basically, underneath the greenhouse, we create botanical planters. These are basically lined cells where we line them with pond liner, and then we have different layers of natural materials. In the bottom, we have big rocks, and then over that, we have gravel, and then in the very, very top, we put a layer of topsoil. So what we do is that in these botanical planters, we recycle the gray water. So the water from your household, the gray water, comes automatically into this botanical cell and is feeding your planter. Now in there, you can produce food. So we have fruits and vegetables growing here, and that way you also can become more independent when it comes to your own fruits and vegetables. So, my friends, that is how you can integrate the wastewater system inside your building. And if you can't do it in the building, you could build a greenhouse in your yard, in your backyard, and you can just redirect the water there and treat it in a separate greenhouse. That's also possible. Now, let's look at green infrastructure. If you are very keen in integrating green infrastructures like green roofs and vertical gardens, green walls, then you also need to plan for that. Now, there are different types of roof. If you do have a very sloped roof, then you do need to integrate specific kind of green roofs. So there are these kind of green roofs where they are designed for roofs with big slope, like this design has here. And it's pretty much like a mesh that you roll out, and that helps to reinforce the soil and make sure that everything it's contained and in its place. So you can easily do that, and it's actually helping your existing building to become more energy efficient. Actually, up to 30% you can reduce your energy consumption, because what happens is that, let me see if I have another color here. What happens is that a green roof itself acts as an insulation. You know, it's a layer of soil and it's a layers of grass. So what happens is that when the sun is shining, it can't penetrate and absorb the roof as much, because most of the heat is going to be absorbed by the plants. So just by doing that, you could actually make your building up to 30% more energy efficient. And then obviously if you have a flatter roof, then there's other kind of types of green roofs to integrate. So basically, my friends, if you have an existing home and you really want to become more autonomous, then look into these possibilities. And maybe you cannot combine all the solutions at once. Maybe you start with the water and then take it step by step. Or maybe only the heating system works for you. So you have to analyze that. However, if you really want to learn more in detail how to do this, then I suggest that you join our online academy. In our online academy, we have modules for all of these systems where we have teachers that break it down into detail for you. And as well, you can join our Q&A sessions that we do every month, where you can bring your project and we can help you to analyze what works for you, and we can also guide you throughout the process. Okay, my friends, I'm looking forward to see you again soon. Join us at the Bioautonomy Online Academy.